Welcome back to the Digital Ledger, everybody. Thank you. Please hit the like and subscribe. If you like this please share it with your friends on your social platforms. I really do appreciate it. I wanted to start with a conversation that I've been having with Cryptopolis, the co-host on the show on Fridays on the IP channel. And I wanted to start with some information that really just sets the tone here for us to really talk about something that Cryptopolis has really been driving home. He did a recent article on Coil about how seeing this current situation economically looks a lot to him like the 1929 Great Depression collapse and the way it was happening back then as it is today, and he has made some very, very key points about that. I want to build on that idea and that notion that he's talked about because he has inspired me to do some digging of my own to research and understand what exactly took place back in that time when the markets collapsed. And I think it is really cool because we're going to broaden that conversation, and I am looking forward because tomorrow on the IP channel, co-host Cryptopolis will be joining us. It is my favorite day of the week, and I encourage all of you to go over and like and subscribe his YouTube channel if you haven't done so as of yet. Okay, so let's look at this. This is from a couple days ago here from Cryptopolis, right at the top here. If you look, Fed actions on the day of the 23rd, just 3 days ago. $40 billion in mortgage purchases, $75 billion of treasury purchases, $4 trillion of liquidity to banks, and to add to that now, we've had $2 trillion in stimulus checks that are going to go out to all of us, as well as some small business SBA loans that will be instituted as well. So this is an enormous $6 trillion plus package now that is being put together for this event that is taking place. Now, I understand that there's a current health crisis taking place. It is very real. But I want to talk today about the fact that an economic crisis that is very real, and they don't want to admit it. So what I believe is taking place, personally myself, is that because Cryptopolis and I have been reporting about a recession being in the banking sector in the repo market since last year, it is now here for all of us to feel. To escalate and expedite the matter, I feel like this current health crisis is certainly in the worst time that it could ever be. And there's never a good time for a health crisis, but it's here and it is very real. Now, behind that crisis that's taking place, we are seeing an economic shutdown take place across the globe. Remember, this is not specific to the U.S. This is specific to the world, and so is the economic crisis. And that's important to understand because we are seeing a systematic shutdown of every country across the globe, especially the ones in the G20 with the biggest economies, aren't we? So with that being said, let's take a look now at what is taking place. So we know that there's the bill here that has been separated from the stimulus, submitted and it's in the House, or I'm sorry, it's in the Senate, introduced to the Senate right now, and it is with the digital dollar wallets and the digital dollar introduced. This is to obviously deal with the fact that paper fiat is dirty. We got to get rid of it. Also, another narrative to understand about it is that the fact that they can speed up the velocity of money if they move everyone to a digital dollar. This by default moves you into the on and off ramps of the digital world. If they make you comfortable by tying this in with, let's say, a PolySign, which should launch later this year, and they do a licensing play and they are part of this digital wallets licensing play to the banks, then now every American can go to their bank account, have a digital wallet given to them or provided for them at their bank, and this is going to bring a very normalized feel to the digital world immediately. For those who are unbanked, they will have access either through an ATM or United States Postal Service. So no matter who you are, banked or unbanked, it looks like we're on our way to getting everybody a digital dollar and a digital wallet. Now, from the health side, it seems like it may run a scenario where we could even see it get as extreme as they pass all of this and then do a moratorium on paper fiat, claiming that the fiat carries germs for up to 17 days, which is accurate, and they want you to turn the fiat in for a digital dollar issuance. We'll have to see how all of this shakes out, but it certainly does appear that there is a framework and a shape that is starting to develop here, or at least it looks that way to me. Now, for a little background, let's just take a look at what we currently see taking place. Again, I just showed you the $6 trillion, $4 trillion liquidity to banks, which, by the way, the biggest banks in the world just sat a couple weeks ago at a table with a president at a press conference and said they had plenty of liquidity and plenty of capital, and now they're getting $4 trillion. So keep that in mind as well. So I want to take a look at the contrast. I'm going to read you this, and it's not a long read. Let me read this to you so you understand the similarities that Cryptopolis has been trying to convey to us. And this is just one of the parts of the puzzle here that I think starts to really bring some clarity to what's taking place today. The Emergency Banking Act, this is from back in 1933. I want you to listen very carefully to what's happened here. Was an act passed by the United States Congress in March 1933 in an attempt to stabilize the banking system. Beginning in February 14, 1933, Michigan, an industrial state that had been hit particularly hard by the Great Depression in the United States, declared an 8-day bank holiday. Wow. Now, we're getting pretty close to something very similar with the isolation, stay in your house, right? I can still make a deposit at my bank as of yet, but we're not done this thing either. Fears of other bank closures spread from state to state as people rushed to withdraw their deposits while they still could do so. Within weeks, all other states held their own bank holiday in an attempt to stem bank runs. Bank runs are simply when the people lose faith in the banking system and they go pull their cash out. What is the narrative you've been hearing everyone say? Get some cash on hand, right? Well, the trick this time around is that cash is dirty. It's got germs on it. So the truth is you really need to use your debit credit card, because most places really don't prefer you bring the paper money in. Following his inauguration March 4, 1933, President Franklin Roosevelt set out to rebuild confidence in the nation's banking system. On March 6, he declared a 4-day national banking holiday that kept all banks shut until Congress could act. A draft law prepared by the Treasury staff during Herbert Hoover's administration was passed on March 9th. The new law allowed 12 Federal Reserve banks to issue additional currency on good assets so the banks that reopened would be able to meet every legitimate call. Listen to this. Now, I mean, you can't make this up. The similarities are right there. I mean, Cryptopolis is dead on his mark, man. The Emergency Banking Act, an amendment to the Trading and the Enemy Act of 1917, was introduced in 1933 to a joint session Congress and was passed same evening amid an atmosphere of chaos and uncertainty as over 100 Democratic members of Congress swept into power, determined to take radical steps to address banking failures and other economic melees. The EBA was one of the President Roosevelt's first projects in the first 100 days of his presidency. Listen, the sense of urgency was such that the act was passed on a single copy available on the floor of the House of Representatives, and legislators voted on it after the bill was read aloud to them by Chairman of House Banking Committee Henry Stegall. Copies were made available to senators as the bill was proposed in the Senate after it had passed in the House. According to William Silber, the Emergency Banking Act of 1933 passed Congress, and 3 days after FDR declared a nationwide bank holiday, combined with the Federal Reserve's commitment to, listen to this, combined with the Federal Reserve's commitment to supply unlimited amounts of currency to reopen banks. I'm going to give that to you like XRP Darren does. Slowed that down for you. combined with the Federal Reserve's commitment to supply unlimited amounts of currency to reopen banks. Yeah. Like this $4 trillion of liquidity to banks. Created 100% deposit issuance, much to everyone's relief. When the institution reopened for business on 13th of 1933, depositors stood in line to return their stashed cash to the neighborhood banks within 2 weeks. Americans had redeposited more than half of the currency that had been squirreled away before the bank suspension. The stock market registered its approval as well on 15th of March, the first day stock trading after the extended closure of Wall Street. Really? Just like now. Only Wall Street's having a shutdown on physical people being there. It is running in an automated fashion. Well, technology allows this to happen, but again, very similar. And we did see a shutdown last week. The New York Stock Exchange recorded the largest one-day percentage price increases ever, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average 8.26 points and closed at 62.10, a gain of 15%. With the benefit of hindsight, nationwide bank holiday and Emergency Banking Act of March 33 ended the bank runs that had plagued the Great Depression. Now, to note, 1 month after that, in April, President Roosevelt signed the Executive Order 6102, criminalizing the possession of monetary gold by an individual, partnership, association, or corporation, and Congress passed a similar resolution in June 1933. The act was a temporary response to a major problem. The Banking Act passed later and presented elements of longer-term response, including formation of the FDIC, which we have now. Okay, so what to make of all of this, right? Okay, so look, here's the debt clock. Spinning and spiraling out of control. Red everywhere, right? So the truth is, they're putting $4 trillion, just good money after bad. Or is it to suggest that they are really providing the liquidity for the bankruptcy that we're witnessing take place? The important thing to note is that this Emergency Banking Act was brought in because the United States went through a bankruptcy in 1933. By the looks of these numbers right here and the state of affairs that we are seeing, I have made no reservation about the fact that I have said this before the gentleman even won the presidency, to my oldest brother. Donald Trump is in office to manage the bankruptcy of the United States of America. In his private business, and I am neither endorsing or not endorsing a candidate or a side. I'm just telling you what I see. History proves what I see, and his private business life proves what I see. He has been through many bankruptcies and remained wealthy. We can only hope, no matter what you believe, that we come out of this much like he has in his private business life. And maybe, just maybe, the digital dollar and the digital wallet might be a sign about a new plan and a new path for all of us to begin to dig out of what is a massive, massive hole. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Like I said, please share this content with people if you like it. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much.